All right, we can title this one, What the Hell is Going On with the Used Car Market?
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Shoot the Shift on the Violent Running channel. That is a Matt.
Hello.
That is a Milton.
La 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 la.
That is a Bryn. I'm some dude called Bam. And Matt's going to tell you what this week's topic is.
You love to just put people on the spot, don't you?
Absolutely love it.
All right, we can title this one, What the Hell is Going On with the Used Car Market? Because what the hell is going on with the used car market?
It's not even just the used car market, in fairness. There's some other
everything.
There's some other interesting price things that have gone on with the car market that have got. Matt originally posited this question a while ago, and then I did some research into some other bits that's to do with pricing in the car market as well. And that's why we're doing it now, because I've got a topic that this lot don't know about.
I want to caveat this with it's not exclusive to the used car market.
No, certainly not.
So, I think a lot of this is COVID and people being stuck at home. So, for example, Nicole got a job at a model shop during the height of COVID after she finished a uni degree, because they were busier than ever because people were stuck at home, so they were picking up new hobbies, and in this case, it was RC cars and stuff like that. And people are doing the same thing with all this sort of stuff. But I think this is what's going on with some portion of the used car market. Everyone's picking up a project car because they've now got time or had time to work on it and do it and spend the money on it.
Also, Matt, you also, good point, because everyone was in lockdown and working from home, they weren't spending so much money getting to work, buying lunch. They were saving so much. I noticed it as well. I saved so much money. Yeah. Look, that money, it's like, oh, I could probably afford it if I cut down on this. Don't get that £3, £4 coffee and breakfast every morning.
Yeah, and I think that's a big portion of it. All the people that wanted to have a budget car have got one and can afford to work on it now. So not only have the base car prices gone up, but the parts have gone up as well because people are looking for them.
So, gonna posit another side of this argument. And it starts off with, we all know at the beginning of COVID, car manufacturers dropped production runs. Which meant the orders weren't there for chips. And we know the chip order that chips are in short supply anyway. There's plenty
that's not just the car market.
No, that's everywhere. That's why your graphics card suddenly costs £1,000 million.
Only from a scalp.
Scalp, yeah.
RRP, they're pretty as they were. It's just they're always out of stock.
Good luck getting one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So when they've tried to return to normal production, they can't necessarily get the chipsets for the brains. That leaves the cars that people can buy as the cars that are in the used car market, and then you factor in reduced volumes of public transport during COVID, people wanting to get around and avoid contact with other people. You've got the perfect storm for what essentially is an economic bubble being created around the used car market. And then you factor in that you've then got people outside our community buying quite a lot of used cars themselves. The prices of the cars in our market go up anyway. And then you bolt on top of that things like drifters crashing into walls, writing cars off at a higher rate than they normally would be. And that's how you get things slowly building up in the sort of drift tax kind of area around anything rear wheel drive and fun, because there's just a shortage in that, ladies and gentlemen. That's economics.
I think the other side of that is
I've just bored Bryn to sleep with that.
I think another side of this is some of the older cars, aside from the people. So, for example, pick something from, like, we were talking about RX-7 FDs the other day. We saw them when we were younger and went, I really want one of them when I grow up. And now all the people that have grown up and can afford to go and buy one are buying them, which is pushing the price of them all the way up. Like an FD, you buy an FD now, a good, like lightly modified one that's in good condition, you're talking 25 to 30 grand. And I think a lot of that sort of 90s, early 2000s stuff is starting to see that. Like, I loaded up Facebook Marketplace to have a quick look to see what was going on there. First car on there, 1991 Nissan Pulsar.
Wait, it was
£8,000.
No, it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Well, we got 8 grand, 9 grand. Brent?
No, Bam's saying
too much money.
Bam's saying, you know, when people put up prices for cars and they just
No,
do one.
this is a proper advert with a proper price.
Okay. Yeah, I think £8,000. £8,000 might be a bit
What
high.
car? Which car?
Nissan Pulsar. So the proper the GTI.
Old school Pulsar.
Yeah.
And these chumps are saying sub 10k.
Milton said 8.
What did Bryn say?
He didn't.
I don't know how much it's worth, but not as much as are paying for it.
Lexus GS.
What do you reckon, Bam?
Oh, I'm trying to think what they were last time I looked.
I'm going to have to push you.
Yeah, you're going to forfeit your go in a second.
I'm going to say they are somewhere 12, 13k, maybe 15.
£22,500 it's up for.
But why? It's not even good. It's not worth 22 grand.
It is, Bryn.
It's not worth 22 grand. Do you know what's 22 grand's worth of car? Not a 30-year-old rusty box. I don't care how much you loved it as a kid, right? It is slower and worse than anything you could actually buy for 22 grand.
This is the thing that infuriates me, right? So all the drifters now are jumping on the IS200.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, because it weighs 1,600 kilos. It's a 6-cylinder, so it's not fuel efficient, and it has 150 horsepower.
Do you know
they're selling for like 4 or 5 grand.
Wait. I've got to do myself a favour here. Drifters, do you know what else weighs 1,600 kilos? Has significantly more brake horsepower and comes in rear-wheel drive?
Stager.
That's the one, Milton.
Like, we're getting to a point where the IS200 is starting to catch up on the price of a Stagia. Why?
No, because now I've
it.
told them all about magical rear-wheel drive stages. They're all going to go buy one, and then they won't. And I'll be a little bit better off. I'll be a little bit better off because that thing's parked on my drive already.
I don't know whether that. So it's an interesting point you bring up. Like obviously the R34 GTRs are shooting up in value because the Americans can now import them.
Yep.
And I don't know whether somebody's not very bright people are turning around and going, "I've got an import. Let's put the stupid price tag on it," thinking the Americans want it, but it's only cars that they couldn't have. And at the moment, that's only the GTR.
No, it's
like
not. It's not only the GTR. There's a lot.
It's not. But
there is essentially anything that wasn't produced for the American market. They can't import until it's 25 years old. At that point, if it's a performance vehicle that's become iconic, they want it. They will illegally import an R34 now for in excess of 300k. And genuinely, if they get caught with it, it gets crushed.
Yeah.
And that is actually why GTR prices are, like R34 GTR prices are going mental, is because there are people going, right, we're going to buy them all up in Japan, we're going to buy them all up in Europe, I'm going to park them in a garage. Yeah, so whooshy thing, because Milton's a muppet. So, yeah, GTRs, actually the reason they're going up in prices, people are buying them ahead of that 25-year birthday when the Americans can import them. If they import them now, they get caught with them, 9 times out of 10 they get crushed. So then you've got a reduced size of the market and availability, so supply and demand just keeps dictating those prices go up and up and up and up and up. And in all honesty, if I had a warehouse somewhere and a couple of million quid to blow, I would have 4 GTRs sat in it right now.
And do you know what you'd be if you did that? You'd be a massive...
Yeah.
My strong and firm opinion is if you buy a car as an investment, you are a car is meant to be driven, it's meant to be used, and it's meant to be enjoyed. If it is sat in a warehouse doing nothing, you may as well have set fire to it. And if your reason for not enjoying it is because you want to make money out of somebody who will enjoy it later on, you are an and you deserve to be run over by the very car that you are hoarding.
Whoa. I never said I wouldn't be enjoying them, but with 4 of them, I would be decreasing the value of all 4 of them equally and less than if I just drove one of them.
That's still pretty.
But
what you've got to remember, Milton, is I have had a long career in sales and don't give a that you're calling me a Sorry, Bryn, not Milton.
I agree with Bryn, and this is why I like going to historic festivals and stuff like that, because you go out there and there's a field of 30 E-Type Jags at full chat. And the race cars from 1900s out there. If you crash that, there's no spares.
I mean, there is, because people make spares for them, because there's a load of money in them.
No, because there's no spares. If you need a replacement wing for one of these cars, it's made by hand and they make one.
That means you can get spares. No, I completely disagree with Bryn on this point, by the way. All power to you if you can afford to do that. I enjoy the Stager. When it gets to 25, I'll plough the money in it to get it repaired. And bon voyage on your magical cruise to the States.
But you're driving it and enjoying it in the meantime, aren't you?
Yeah, because it's a 200,000-mile car. If you turned around to me tomorrow and went, bam, here are the keys to a 3,000-mile R34 GTR, right? That thing is going into storage, and I'm driving it just to make sure the engine doesn't seize. I'm sorry, but
meanwhile, me and Bryn wouldn't be able to hear you locking it away from the rev limiter that we're hitting on the way out of the drive.
I'm sorry, boys. You think you're managing to successfully steal from me?
I never said that. If we both got one, you'd be busy locking it away. We'd be driving in the other direction, enjoying it.
Yeah, but what you've got to remember is the real important difference is if I'm getting that, I've already got a car with an RB that I drive regularly. That has the same drivetrain.
One. Let somebody else enjoy it, you massive knobhead.
Sorry, if we want Bryn to rant, we just have to tell him how much a PS13 is at the moment.
I want to know how much a PS13 is worth at the moment. It's f***ing stupid.
Have we breached the 50k mark yet, Matt?
£25,000.
That's not that bad.
It's not even a good car. It can't even stay together for an entire event without exploding.
There's one here that looks. There's one here that looks like it's a drift car. It's multiple colours. It's got unpainted over fenders on it, and they want £8,000 for it.
No, Matt. Just because it's doesn't make it a drift car.
It says because drift car on the windscreen.
That means it's definitely not a drift car.
That just means it's someone looking for an excuse for their missile.
That car is a Mackey's hero. If it says because drift car on it, it is a McDonald's car park queen.
Here you go, Bryn. I've got you a £1,000 200SX.
Right. So how many holes are in the wing?
None. But it has no front end, no engine, no diff. It's a rolling shell, basically.
That's still good money.
Whoa.
They've tubbed one side.
Wait. Solution. It's a rolling shell. And you said you've got some spare engines kicking about?
I'm sure we could sneak one out.
There we go.
Cobble something.
Matt, you're the one that's got money right now. You go buy it.
I've got I've just bought an NC.
I don't think any of you have Judd money. Even if you sold your 4 GTRs.
I don't need Judd money. Just let me know when one's about to roll off the production line, and I'll come in with a shotgun, and that's how we'll get it.
Wait, what? I've just come across a 1999 Toyota Starlet Glanza 5 Turbo.
Yeah.
With plastic wheel trims on it.
Yeah.
So it looks like the poverty spec version.
Yep.
Admittedly, it's only got 4,452 miles on it. How much do you reckon it's up for?
45 grand.
Your mum.
I mean, it's poverty spec by the looks of it because it's got steel wheels and plastic wheel trims.
People are still buying them because that's all you can get.
16 grand.
Me!
I mean, it's clean underneath. Like, it's spotless. I mean, it's done 4,500 miles, but 16 grand. Right. So to put this into perspective, sat right next to that advert is a 1972 Nissan 240Z with nearly 88,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And that is also £16,000.
That's a much
Whoa,
better.
whoa. Send me that ad link in chat, please.
It looks nice as well. Nice red leather interior.
Just drop it over in the chat, right? And then let's stop car shopping because we need to talk to these people about what's going on with the car market. They're
I'm
not
looking
here
to see what's on the car market.
I know, but
What's
they're not
going
here to
on
watch
is
us shop for cars.
It's getting stupid. It's what it's
It is.
doing.
There
When I
is.
was 14 years old, I was looking at these cars and thinking, like Matt said, oh yeah, when I grow up, I'm gonna have one of those. And there were a handful of them. You know, I'd have been happy with a Supra. I'd have been happy with any of the RX-7s. I've been happy with an S13. And what's actually happening is the price of them, now that we are old enough to buy them, is going up as fast as you can accumulate any kind of money to own such a car. So you just spent 12 years lusting after a car that you will never be able to afford now because they're just dying out.
I think the flip side of this as well is the fact that manufacturers aren't making performance cars anymore.
Whoa.
So Nissan got up to the S15 and then didn't really make any more S bodies after that. So people are buying 13s, 14s, 15s, and they're not making any more. So there's not more coming into the market and backfilling it.
Incorrect. And this is actually one of the things that I was talking about before. And I've done some research on this one as well. So, I know, boys, it's worrying. It's almost like I prepared for an episode. Strange. So at the beginning of the episode, you'll remember I said about prices of new cars and what they're doing. Can anybody name a current, cheap, mid-engined rear-wheel drive car?
Depends on your definition of cheap.
Like
the Richard Branson, a 350Z's cheap.
Allowing for, but a 350Z's not mid-engined.
No, but that's an example.
If you think old school MR2, right, that was a cheap mid-engined rear-wheel drive car for its time.
Are we only talking? Again, it depends on your definition of cheap. But
Do you know what the current cheapest mid-engined rear-wheel drive car is?
We're talking
75 grand.
It's a Porsche.
I was going to say, it's got to be a Porsche because all their engines in the back.
No. And this is my point, right?
Is it a Boxster?
I don't think it is a Boxster. No, I can't remember which model it was, but it wasn't.
I thought Boxster's the poor man's Porsche, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But this is my point. Toyota stopped making the MR2.
Yeah.
Nissan didn't really make any more S bodies. They made the 350, but it wasn't the S bodies. Mazda stopped making the RX-7. They did replace it with the RX-8, but it wasn't as popular. Yeah.
Was it though, or do people just give it because they don't know?
It was let down by its wanky engine. I mean, wankle engine. Because people didn't know how to look after them properly.
And they took off the only thing that made the RX line worth having, which was a turbo, and went, hey, you remember how they were when they were NA? Let's do that again.
But even then, Mazda stopped making those in 2013, something like that. And the only rear-wheel drive sports car that Mazda make is the MX-5.
Which is the only one you need, right?
And then you go back to Nissan. The only thing they make is the 370Z at the moment. Like, Mitsubishi stopped making the Evo.
Yeah.
Subaru didn't really make that many WRX STIs for a while. I think they started making them again. But there was this lull sort of late 2000s, early 2010s when nobody was really making any performance cars. So we're probably hitting that period where those cars would have been 10 to 15 years old now, but you
Mm.
can't buy a performance car because it wasn't there. They didn't make them.
Here he comes with his old age and research again, boys. So,
Go on in, old fart.
what happened in 2008?
I started year 10.
A global recession happened in 2008.
Yeah. And
That
I think
wiped the
that's-
values out of the market, made loads of people redundant, and the largest group of people who were made redundant are low-income families. If you have to make a decision between food and a second car for fun driving, you don't choose the second car for fun driving.
You can sleep in your car, but you can't race a house.
I mean, you
But
can
this
race
is
a
the other-
house.
But the other side of that is everybody was going out buying economical cars.
Yeah.
And manufacturers were also hit by this recession, so they weren't making these performance cars.
Yeah.
Because nobody was buying them, so they didn't need to make them.
The other side of that is if you look at cars like the MR2, for example, and other mid-engined rear-wheel drive cars of the time, they were using engines from normal road cars mounted in the right format in the vehicle to allow what they were doing to happen. But Bryn, the engineer, I'm going to call in here, just to develop that dedicated platform for an engine you've already got is horrifically expensive, right?
Yeah. Well, if you've already got the engine, it's going to be a lot cheaper.
But the point being, if the market's not necessarily there because no one's buying them anyway, do you develop a new platform, or do you just build another Civic with its engine in its normal spot that people are going to buy because they can transport their families around, and stick a Type R badge on it, make it a little bit pokey for those that want that in their normal day-to-day car?
Yeah, well, that's what they all did.
But it's entirely down to economic reasons. Again, it's people not being able to afford that fun second car. People in that period were buying cheap MX-5s, all that kind of stuff to get their kicks because they were cheaper cars to buy and manage. No one was manufacturing those cars. You then see us come out of the recession and you start seeing things like the GT86, the BRZ, the 370.
Well, it's a good point because I've just realised as well that it's not exclusive Japanese sports cars either.
No.
Think about the Focus ST, the Focus RS. Peugeot did the 208 GTI.
Yeah.
Did Golf stop making GTI?
Yeah.
No, GTI's been around.
That's always been around. But I just remember, it just twigged in my head that Top Gear did an episode where they had 3 hot hatches. And they were like, the Ford ST's back. I'm like, yeah, that's why they stopped making it, because we had the recession, so nobody wanted a hot hatch.
Yep.
And then they never really went back to rear-wheel drive again, by and large. Until...
Well, they did the Mark 1. This is my point. They did the Mark 1 Focus RS and the Focus ST, that original shape. Then they stopped making it, and then they did the Mark 1, the Mark 2, the sort of the bright orange and the green one. Then they stopped. Then they brought back the Fiesta ST in the current shape that we know, and then they brought back the RS after that.
But then you've got to consider, Brent, to your point around not bringing back rear-wheel drive cars when you've spent a decade almost, and let's be realistic about the impact of that 2008 recession.
Yeah,
the public finances had not recovered by 2018 fully,
and then this whole pandemic thing came along.
But if you think about that, if you've been for 10 years, you've been developing transversely mounted front-wheel drive cars, you've got your platform pretty much dialed in, you know the development costs for building another generation of that car is far cheaper than going, we're going to bring rear-wheel drive back, right? But then you get to the point as well, because of that recession, the only people who can enjoy motorsport have a higher income. And people with a higher income, they ain't buying MR2s. They ain't buying MX-5s. They're buying Porsches.
But I think this is why we're seeing a lot more, I want to say hot hatches, but they're a step up from that with like all-wheel drive now. So
all-wheel drive's the
Focus
new
RS, the Yaris GR, that's all-wheel drive. They're bringing out a Corolla version of that as well.
But what have they all got in common?
They've all got a drift button or drift mode, which is ridiculous.
No, they're front-wheel drive cars. and they're adapted to be all-wheel drive.
But what are those all-wheel drive cars used for?
Driving to the shops.
No.
Go on, man.
Think about all those cars. They're all homologation cars. They're all for rally.
Yeah.
They are all cars that exist because they have to exist so that they can compete in motorsport.
Right. So if we go back before the GR Yaris existed, all they did was use the normal diesel version.
Disgusting.
Yes,
Genuinely, there's been a GR Yaris in WRC for quite a number of years before the GR Yaris appeared. So they were using the older version. It's just now they've got a sports version. That's the one they're using to promote the sports version.
Mm.
But that's the thing. The money wasn't about. People weren't buying them,
but now we're set in a way that front wheel drive cars exist, and they're just going to carry on pushing that.
And then here's the thing, right? And dare I say it, here comes electric cars to save the day.
They can suck in as well.
The thing is, though, the manufacturers are now starting to realise that we do want fun cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you're seeing GR Yaris is coming up. They're still making the GT86. Nissan 400Z's coming out. They're starting to make performance cars.
You've got 4 years of performance internal combustion cars being made, and then when we hit 2025, and I am sorry, everybody. Unfortunately, I work in doing business maths quite a lot of the time, and this is why I can talk about this stuff. You've reached a point where the investment in a new car doesn't give you enough time to sell that new vehicle to make the money back. So you hit 2025, and everything is going to be hybrid or battery or electric.
So does that mean we can get some cool cars cheap?
No, that means we are going to get some cool cars that come out in very small numbers because they've got 4 years to be bought, and they're not going to be cheap cars. As we've already discussed, they're going to be aimed at that slightly higher price bracket. And we are going to have to hope at some point that we make enough money to be able to afford one when they hit their dip. And they may never hit a dip because they'll be the last internal.
Go on, Matt, say your point. Sorry, we cut you off.
No, the point I'm trying to make is I think everybody's going, oh no, the world's going to be hybrid. We're all going to be driving around in Priuses. A McLaren P1 is a hybrid.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying if you want pure internal combustion engine, you got 4 years. Anyway, after that whooshy thing, used car market and generally the car market. So, the long and short of it, and I think we can probably all agree that the reasons we've kind of gone over the economics of why no one's developing any new fun cars, or at least hasn't for a while.
They're all bums.
No, it's essentially because some Americans gave some mortgages to some people who shouldn't have been given mortgages, and then rather predictably to anybody who understands risk profiles, some of them didn't pay them back, and enough of them didn't pay them back in order for it to cause a global financial crisis, which then shafted everybody's money and led to the fact that no one developed any mid-range or low-range fun sports cars for about 5 to 10 years. And because of that, there's kind of this deficit and void where there's no fun cars. So all the cars that we grew up liking and are fun are now getting more and more expensive because of the competition for cheap, fun, entertaining cars. Not to mention some people with too much money are buying about 14 million GTRs, hiding them in warehouses, which Bryn absolutely hates. That's about a good summary of where we're at in the episode, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking of that meme where the guy says that's a really long. I can't remember exactly what he said, but that's a really long way of putting it. But yes,
it's about as shortest, most concise way I could think of putting it. But I am quite.
That's overcomplicating it. But yes.
Yeah. So the reason that you're not seeing any sort of mid-engined rear-wheel drive cars coming out is essentially the people who buy those now just buy Porsches, and everybody else has got so used to tuned hot hatches, that kind of thing, that they go at the bottom end of the market. You go and buy a Fiesta ST, or a Yaris GR, or
Audi Audi A3.
Yeah, or equivalent. It's kind of a sad time. With as I say, I don't think past 2025, certainly for the UK market, don't think you're going to see many entirely internal combustion fun cars. Sorry, Bryn. It just doesn't.
Most countries are moving away from pure internal combustion anyway. So
yeah, it just doesn't make financial sense. Maybe we get saved by synthetic fuel.
I've just had another thought, and I think this, amongst all the other things that we covered, I think one of the other problems that is plaguing the used car market is the fact that a lot of people are leasing cars instead.
Get out of my head, Matt. I was about to say the same point.
If somebody leases a car and then gives it back again,
yeah,
nobody's actually selling new cars, as it were.
No. Or you're not going to go buy from a dealer because they're just extremely expensive.
And they want you to buy it as lease or finance because that's actually where they make the profit now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is really scary because that means the inflation rate for a car is mental. And a certain element of what affects the used car market is, in fact, inflation. That car that you spent $8,000 on in today's money...
It's not worth $8,000 anymore.
Is worth significantly more than $8,000, coupled with things getting rarer, and there's your perfect storm.
Yeah, I don't, because going into this, I thought it was literally just a case of people picking up more hobbies, but obviously, as we've discussed, I think it's not just one factor; it's 2, 3, 4 things all coming together just at the same time.
Bryn is really grumpy.
Awesome, grumpy.
Brendan wants a $2,000 S13.
I do. I spent literally, I don't think you comprehend how much of my life I have spent dedicated to the dream of owning these cars. And I mean everything. My A-levels, my GCSEs, my degree, my job, and my hobbies all revolve around these cars, and the price is going up faster than I can possibly accumulate the wealth to get them. Right. So yeah, I'm grumpy because I've just wasted 15 years of my life on some which is just going exponentially up and up and up.
Right.
Yeah, but to make that, Bryn, you did sort out my destroyer die knuckles, so I can actually use them. So
we finally said it live on air, ladies and gentlemen. We have revealed the issue. We made it nearly half a year's worth of episodes. In fact, it's not. We started this in December. We are over half a year's worth of episodes, and we have finally let you know which drift knuckles don't fit properly.
And bend really, really, really easily.
Not even going to bleep it out this time. So I think, the reality is, Brian, that what they need to do so that Bryn isn't grumpy next week is like and subscribe so we can get some ad revenue so that we can buy Bryn a car that he wants desperately.
Didn't even have to be a good car, just a car.
Yeah. Who knows of any cheap GS300s? Let Bryn know.
Oh, please, I really want one.
We finally convinced him to actually get one, and now they don't know.
Yeah. You can't find one.
I was looking at him in the middle of COVID when everyone panicked that they were going to die or something and all sold their cars. And I was like, oh, cool, GSs, you can get those. They've stopped selling them now. They're all gone. They're all missing.
So, if you have a GS300...
You have a Mark II facelift GS300.
Bryn is...
And it's not £5,000 because I don't have that kind of fucking money.
Yeah, Bryn has... Project S13.
Wait. Bryn has a maximum budget of...
I will spend £2,500 on one that's really, really good, but I'm looking for about £2,000 for one that bodywork wise is fine and mechanically may need some work because it's meant to be a project.
So, if you believe, like Bryn does, that you shouldn't hoard cars and make money off them, you should enjoy them, sell Bryn your Lexus GS300 in that really nice blue colour. Am I right?
Good blue.
And blue. If you do, Bam will send you a free sticker.
I will. In fact, no, I will send Bryn down with one of every sticker that we have in stock. If you sell Bryn a car that he wants for $2,500.
And we'll all sign it and take photos of it and sign that and take photos of that after signing it.
No, it's probably a little bit too far.
Okay.
But yeah, so look, I think we're at that point, boys. We kind of, if I talk any more economics tonight, people other than Bryn are going to fall asleep.
I'm not far off it.
If we keep going, Bryn's just going to get madder.
I'm sorry, Bryn. I can't help it. This is this kind of stuff I actually know about.
And all I heard through all the economic stuff that you explained to us, all that I heard is money is stupid and you all suck at it.
Pretty much.
Well,
Yeah.
no. What you actually heard is money is great, but we all suck at it. And on that note,
Bombshell.
well, no, we're not going to steal
No,
a
you're not allowed to say
catchphrase. They'll sue us for that.
Probably. I don't
On
know
that
what
massive pile of
That one.
Yes. That one.
Beep.
We want to say he's been Matt.
Bye-bye.
He's been Milton.
Toodles.
He's been Bryn.
I got 40 odd years left of being this grumpy.
Up here is a link to an entertaining video of something. And don't forget to do... I'm trying to remember which sides they are now. The subscribe, whichever bit it pops
If
up
we
on.
all point eventually,
Like that.
It'll all reach.
I'm not getting into that again. The episode last time we were all together, too many special effects maybe. But best retention we've ever had.
More explosions.
More explosions.
is that the thing? We need shiny things to keep people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, and this is the genuine sign off, it turns out from some training I've done in the work that taught me the economics things, that you all have an attention span shorter than that of a goldfish these days.
Yeah, that's the generation.
So,
It says
Anyway.
nothing on his phone.
catch you later. See you in a
Bye.
couple of weeks. Bye-bye.